A life well lived is just a change of perspective, a change in mindset. And when you do that, you change your actions, you change the way you move through the world. Today, we are talking about what it means to live a good life, what it means to live a life that is well lived, how you should be looking at your life to define whether you are living a good life. My little brother is super like philosophical, and I think he's going down like this path of stoicism. And he talked to me a lot during the summer about his mental struggle and his, emotional grappling with what it means to live a good life. I look at my little brother and I think he's literally so incredible, so amazing, living the most incredible, rich, like youthful life ever. He has a bunch of friends. He's super smart. He, is doing a bunch of things for his age. He's had several incredible internships and he's traveled and he has a girlfriend and he's athletic. Like I view his life, he's super extroverted, which means he like does a lot. He's a leader. I could go on and on and on about how incredible my little brother is, one as a person, and two, like what I perceive he's doing with his life. But when I would talk to him, he was struggling and was in turmoil about not doing enough, about not being enough. And, he expressed to me a couple of times about how he lived with this sense of like anxiety and stress when he wasn't doing anything. And how he was kind of like struggling with this idea of what it means to live a good life because when he would view his life without some sort of purpose or aim or goal that he was aiming at, it all felt useless, worthless. He felt like he was kind of in alignment with that sense of I'm nothing, I'm no one, I'm not going to surmount to anything. And that is kind of like what is driving him and pushing him towards all of these things that he accomplishes and the things that he aims for. To me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's so crazy that this incredible life that I'm looking at, like watching you live from the external reality, is in a sense driven by shame and a feeling of not being enough and a feeling of chasing being enough, chasing your inherent value, proving to others or to yourself that you are living a good life, or that someone, God, whoever, the higher power, your higher self, can look at you and be like, they did it right. They, deserved their life, or they earned my stamp of approval. They earned um their value as a human being. And I kind of saw myself in his reality and in that sense of belief of like I'm nothing, I'm no one, I'm surmounting to nothing and no one. Except for me, I kind of come at it from the opposite way. I am stagnant. My little brother pursues all of these things. And mind you, this is all kind of paraphrasing what he said. Don't quote me on any of it, but this is what I gathered from the conversations that we had this summer. But I come at it from the opposite way, where he views his, life as like one that isn't good and that he needs to do more in to make good. I am like so scared to act because I'm so scared of being disappointed. I'm so scared of giving it my all and having it not surmount to anything. And so I'm typically not living, but from a place of, I don't want to prove to myself that I am actually unworthy, that I am actually not good enough. If I don't take action, I can at least look at it and be like, well, that's not actually proof that I'm not like doing anything, or that I have no purpose, or that I'm not living a good life. Like it doesn't actually reflect anything about who I am on the inside because I didn't actually try, but I can leave all of my potential in my imagination and be like, well, if I tried, like who knows what would happen? Like maybe it would surmount to more, like maybe I would have something to show for it. But in both of these scenarios, whether you are moving from a place of, you know, trying to prove yourself by doing so much, or refusing to prove to yourself that you might not actually be anything by not taking action. Both of these are grounded in the sense that you are not actually just inherently worthy, and that a life well lived means one that you meet with presence. I talked about presence in my last video, but as I was like grappling with what I wanted to talk about, I knew that I wanted to talk about a life well lived. And, I went and I was trying to kind of be with the moment and be like, when I get there, I'll know what to talk about. And last night I came up with a topic, but I didn't go too deeply into what I wanted to say. And this morning I was like, let me just go about my day and wait until it comes to me. And so when I came back from running my errands, I was like, I know what I want to say about it in terms of what is wrong with my mentality in a sense, because I know that the obvious answer is to view your life from this sense of it's a life well lived if you are here and now and present for it and you embrace it for the continuous storyline that it is, rather than this singular moment. But I was like, there's more. And something that I do when I'm trying to release negative beliefs and trying to transcend a negative belief and replace it, because it's not enough to just like leave behind a negative belief. All of those neural pathways of you repeating the same thing over and over have are deep grooves in your brain that need to be redirected into a different direction for you to create new neural pathways for that to be your new way of thinking. Like I've heard a lot of people explain it as train tracks or yeah, like a path that once you walk it a lot or once you go down this path a lot of times, the grooves become deeper and deeper. And so like if you're kind of like rolling a marble down a hill, if there's an indent, it's going to be a lot easier for that marble to roll down that hill versus if you just kind of like with your finger in the sand, just kind of lightly make like a different alternate path. The likelihood of it moving off of the trajectory of a groove that is so deeply implanted that it's easier for it to build momentum and continue that momentum in that direction versus moving down and then having to forge a new path rather than following the path that already is really unlikely. So in terms of creating replacing a limiting belief, it's important to do that. You have to give your mind a new path to walk. You have to begin to walk that new path, so much so that this limiting belief that had you walking down that path for however long you've held that limiting belief becomes less and less used. You begin to put in the steps and deepen the grooves of your new path. And so, something that I do in order to do that is I explore the limiting belief by connecting to my subconscious. And there's different ways to reach your subconscious because your beliefs live in your subconscious. There's so many things that you can know consciously, but if you don't believe them subconsciously, you won't act differently. Like prior to this moment, and I still haven't necessarily practiced it, I just processed this right now, but prior to this moment, I told you from the beginning, like I know consciously what it means, like what the right answer to living a life well lived is. I know it. But when I act out, when I talk to people about my life, when I, project my shadow self's perspective on where I am in life, it's not at all in alignment to what I consciously know. And so, what you do is you rewire your subconscious mind. And a lot of people use meditation or hypnotherapy in order to descend from their conscious mind into their subconscious mind. And one of the ways that I don't think that a lot of people realize that is possible for you to do that in your waking moment is by writing. I can't necessarily remember what the science behind it is, but I asked ChatGPT about this because I was like, this just feels a little bit too real. And the things that come up when I talk to my subconscious when I'm writing are things that I'm not consciously aware of. I ask my subconscious, and this is what I got from Bashar. He says, begin your statement with, I am choosing to feel X emotion about this situation. And you describe all of the emotions that you feel: shame, guilt, embarrassment about, the thing that you're trying to process, and you follow it with, because I believe that it serves me in this way. Sorry, the trash is here. Let me take a break. It's funny. I'm thinking of this little boy that my mom nannies and I occasionally nanny for. And, you know, it kind of ties to this idea of a life well lived by meeting it with presence. Because to me, right now, this, garbage truck going by is so like disrupting the flow of what I'm trying to do. But to the little boy that my mom takes care of, we like have to run out and chase the garbage truck because he loves garbage trucks, and like seeing it, like his eyes light up. And whenever we're driving and he sees a garbage, he's like, garbage truck. Like, it's such a moment of like joy and pleasure. And to me, it's just like the most mundane thing. But a life well lived means meeting the moments, the mundane and humdrum moments of life with presence, and by infusing positivity, joy, and appreciation into it. Back to what I was saying. That just kind of distracted me, but it kind of made me smile because I remembered him, and now garbage truck has like a positive meaning in my head. But you say, I'm choosing to feel X emotion because I believe it serves me in this way. And then you just write. You don't think, you just write. It's not about it making sense, which I have found that it always makes a lot of sense. You begin to write, and your subconscious will answer you, because anything that you are experiencing in life, any pattern that you are recognizing, is one that is perpetuated by your subconscious, because your subconscious believes that it is serving you, protecting you in some way. And so, what I've realized is like the benevolent quality of my subconscious mind and of everybody's mind. Even when I go through all of this and I write down everything that my subconscious mind brings to me, at the end, I go ahead and affirm everything that I received from my subconscious mind. One, to validate that experience, but literally every single time I've done this, and I did this a lot. This is what I did to move past the really dark space that I was in last year, like to kind of let all of the negative things come up and then process them in order to clear out my energy. Anytime a negative belief or a negative emotion would come up and I would feel myself ruminating over these things, I would ask my subconscious, like, what is this about? Like, why am I choosing to feel these negative emotions about myself or about my life experience? How do I feel like that's serving me? Because as much as it may feel like your subconscious mind is sabotaging you, and that's usually how it comes about, your subconscious mind just wants to keep you safe. It's a mechanism that is built within you so that you're not constantly having to like be on high alert by trying to figure out how to act in every moment to keep yourself safe. And so your mind is kind of hypnotized in, I think, the first 7 years of your life, to create this roadmap of, these are the things that I need to protect myself from. This is what I'm going to, these are the core elements that I am going to make sure that I'm constantly looking out for in my external reality, and what I am going to base my actions off of, subconsciously, so that I can always protect myself from this fear, or for me, it's shame. The reason why I can affirm all of these things, even when it comes across as self sabotage, even when I'm like, "Ugh, I understand why you're doing this, but it's literally accomplishing the exact opposite of what you're trying to get me to accomplish," is because it's actually so logical. Like, the reasons that your subconscious mind will give you as to why it's making you feel a certain thing, or why it's preventing you from taking action in a direction that you want to be taking action in, are so incredibly logical. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, if I were you and this was my understanding of how taking action in this direction would harm me, I too would prevent myself from taking action. I'm going to share with you guys some of the things that came up for me when I asked my subconscious mind why I was choosing to feel embarrassed about my current life and why I felt like I wasn't living a good life. Because I do feel like this is the human condition. I don't have any subconscious limiting belief about what it feels to live a good life. That is just mine. Like maybe I don't have every single one that everybody in the world feels, but I feel like this is a great place to start. And it's kind of the only place I know to start because it's what I have been operating from. And then I think it'll help you see like the ways that my subconscious was responding to me. And I bolded that the areas that kind of summarize what my subconscious mind was telling me that it was protecting me from by making me feel like the life I'm living right now is not a good one. And the 11:11 on the clock, the reason why this felt so important for me to talk about was because I'm currently experiencing a reality in which I have two contradicting perspectives. There's an aspect of me that loves the life I'm living. I'm living with my parents. And there's the aspect of me that, for the first time ever, like I have a healthy, beautiful, loving relationship with my parents. And I'm so happy and grateful to be here. And I would say very few of us can honestly say that moving back with your parents at, for me, 28 years old, 27, when I moved in, is one, something that you would willingly do, and two, something that you would feel like really proud of. But for me, I have these like contradicting emotions and beliefs about where I am in terms of living with my parents. Cause I'm like, honestly, even if I could afford to move out, I don't know if I would want to because this is probably the last time I'm going to live with my parents. And I love being around them. I love coming home to them. I love that my mom can just like come and like chat it up. And like sometimes when we like have a show, like we have like our, show nights. Like I love that. Like I literally have like the best relationship that I've had with my mom in so long. And like I'm starting to see like my dad's personality a little bit more. And I just think it's so cute. I think it's so cute to be with my family right now. And, my little brother just came back home from college and I got to spend the summer with him because obviously he stayed with my parents. And it was just such a moment of like, oh my God, like I love that I'm here right now. However, when I view it from how others view me or when I talk about it to others, I don't lead with that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, like I'm living with my parents and like, I make a big show about the fact that I'm like embarrassed to be living with my parents. And I very much am quiet about the fact that I like secretly like, like I'm loving my experience here. But I feel this need to be like, no, I'm so aware that this is like so embarrassing. And I'm like way too old to be living with my parents right now. And the response I normally get is like, honestly, if I could live with my parents, like I would. Like, oh, that would save me so much but I always feel the need to lead with that. And I started my first question or my first statement. I said, I'm choosing to feel embarrassed about how others view me and projecting my subconscious embarrassment about feeling less than others, not as accomplished, not as valuable, and less than others about my current situation because it protects me from ridicule. Even if I don't believe it, it softens the blow of others thinking it about me. And I was like, okay, no one that I've talked to about my situation has said that to me though. Not one. Actually, I've had people that are successful and in places that I admire and that are older. A couple of them were like, actually, yeah, I had to move in with my parents at 27 as well. Like, sometimes you just have that hard reset where you have to rebuild, you have to reassess your life and rebuild, and you go from there. And living with my parents has been a moment where I could do that. My subconscious has finally gotten into a place where it feels safe to bring up all of the things that I need to process in order to heal. I heard, I went to the safari. I think it's the rhinoceros. I heard that female rhinoceri, when they are in a period of drought or when they don't feel safe, they shut down their entire reproductive system. First of all, why are we not doing more research on how they do that so we can temporarily shut down our reproductive system until we want to give birth? I don't know. Just throwing that idea out there. But it's the same idea where it's like, when you don't feel safe, your subconscious mind knows better than to bring up things that would require a lot of energy, time, emotional effort, whatever. It knows better than to bring that up. It's like, now is not the time. Let's just focus on surviving. And so when you're in survival mode, you just don't have the time to, fully reassess like what it is that has brought you to this place, brought you to your knees. And so once I was able to live with my parents and I had that sense of safety and security, my subconscious mind was able to bring up all of the things that I had been suppressing that were creating my external reality. And not just creating my external reality, that was influencing the internal mindset that I was projecting into my external reality that was making it absolutely miserable for me. When I first started dancing, I loved it. Like, I know that's not like something that most people want to hear, but it was really an opportunity for me to express like my sensual side while still feeling safe and protected. I'm not required to do anything like sexual. And so it was like this opportunity to like practice seducing and enjoying feeling desired while also having security guards that would make sure nothing bad happened to me and making money off of it and getting to get paid to look my best and to express myself and to get in my body and feel sensual and beautiful and like learn pole tricks. Like it was something that I enjoy. I would classify myself as like a nudist. I love being naked just in my own time. And so it was like, I love this. I'm a Leo. I love the spotlight. Like I loved it. And by the time that I stopped dancing last year, I hated everything about it. Besides being on stage, like I always loved that. I hated everything about the process of interacting with men and like I hated it. I hated it. And what changed about my perspective was that I was no longer meeting people with the energy of I know who I am. I'm like that girl and if you don't like me, if you don't want to spend money on me, your loss. And that energy was magnetic. Like people were like, oh, she knows herself. Like she's so fun. Like she's so easygoing. Like she can hold any type of conversation. It could be like lighthearted. It could be deep. Like I had some pretty good therapy sessions with some clients and I got paid really well. But by the end, I was so uncertain of myself and so insecure that instead of meeting people with the energy of like, I'm that girl, I was meeting people with this false chameleon like uh manipulative not manipulative in a sense but more so needy energy of like who can I be for you to like me, how can I transform myself to be the girl that you would spend money on, and that energy is so repellent and inauthentic. I was being so incredibly inauthentic and so I was struggling to make money. Everything about it sucked. And I was experiencing a reality that I had dreamed of. Like when I first started dancing, all I wanted was to work at this one specific club. It's the hardest club to get into San Diego. And that's like where there was the most money outside of my club. And I remember like when I first started dancing, my friend at the time was like, yeah, don't even audition there. Like you need to be able to do like a lot of tricks. Like you need to be good and you're a beginner. And it was down the street from my club. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it'd be so crazy to like work there someday. By the time I was done dancing last year, I was working there and I hated it. It was like such a full circle moment of like, I started off down the street from here with like bright eyed, bushy tailed perspective on dancing. And now I'm where I wished I had been 2 years ago. And I'm fucking miserable. I hate everything about my life right now. And so it's not about your external reality. Like, I sometimes fool myself into believing that, like, Well, if I was a millionaire, it wouldn't matter how I felt on the inside. Like Ariana has this song where I think it's like Seven Rings, where she was like, they say they say money can't solve all your problems. They must have not had enough money to solve them. And I was like, but no, that's not true. Like I was living in the more elevated reality where, I was making significantly more money than I was when I first started, and I was miserable. I hated it. When I objectively compared my life from when I started dancing to when I finished, I was everything that I had dreamt of being. But my mindset was so different. Like your mindset, the mindset that you infuse into your external reality is what will dictate how you experience it. And so I have no idea how I got onto that tangent. However, let's go back to what I was saying. I'm choosing to feel embarrassed about how others view me and projecting my subconscious embarrassment about feeling less than others, not accomplished, not as valuable, and than others about my current life situation because it protects me from ridicule, even if I don't believe it. It softens the blow of others thinking about it. I love it secretly, but like I'm also so embarrassed. Like I have to make sure others know that I'm so embarrassed, and other people had not shared that sentiment with me. Other people were like, yeah, I had to do a hard reset. Other people were like, dang, I kind of wish I could live with my parents right now. Other people were like, yeah, like it just happens sometimes. Like it's totally fine. Nobody else had told me that, oh my gosh, like that's literally so embarrassing. But I felt like they were secretly thinking that because I was secretly thinking that. I was projecting the voice of my shadow self, the thing that I'm suppressing that I don't want to look at because, oh my gosh, like if I admit to myself that it's embarrassing to have moved in with my parents at 27 years old, I don't really know what would happen, but I would feel embarrassed and it would suck. It would suck if I admitted that to myself. And so I was like, there's more because it's not enough for me to be like, I'm choosing to project and create this storyline that nobody else has expressed to me. And even when they're expressing like something totally opposite, I'm like, well, they secretly are judging me. They secretly feel like this is so embarrassing. No, whenever you have no proof that anybody else is secretly feeling this way about you, it's really just that you are using that person as a scapegoat for you to project the things that you secretly feel about yourself and be like, they're judging me. No, you're judging you. You're judging you. And so whenever your initial thing is like, well, other people are going to feel X, Y, and Z about me, if they felt that way about you and you didn't feel that way about you, it wouldn't bother you. It wouldn't bother you at all. If someone came up to you and they were like, "Oh my gosh, like your skin is literally so ugly and orange and you're like the whitest person to exist." You're going to be like, "Okay," and leave. You're not going to be like, "Oh my gosh, like they think I'm orange." You'd be like, "Oh, they're literally crazy. Like I literally don't care. I know I'm not orange." If you are the whitest person ever and somebody was like, "Oh, like your skin looks so fair." You might be like, "Oh my gosh, I look too white. People think I look pasty or whatever." And I've had white people say that and I'm like, "Oh, they're like so pressed to be like suntan." And I'm like, "You actually look really good with like white skin. Like it suits your features." And they're like, "No, like I look so pasty." And I'm like, that's how you feel. I am not secretly feeling like, no, she actually does look pasty. I'm like, no, like you tan kind of takes away from like the contrast of like your hair and your eyes and your skin. Whatever, that's another tangent. But the point is, when something resonates with you, when it's something that you believe about yourself, it affects you. Even if nobody has said it, if it's something that you are harboring within yourself, it's going to affect you no matter what somebody else says. You're gonna be like, oh, they secretly feel that. You secretly feel that. That's what projection is. And so I was like, we got to go deeper than that. I can't leave it at what I know is to be projection. I had to recognize and accept that how others think about me, quote unquote, think about me, is how I think about me. And so I said, I am choosing to feel less valuable and smaller than others and feeling embarrassment in comparison to others because of my age, really. Because I'm like, okay, if I moved back with my parents when I was like 21, like post college, and I was working the job that I'm working right now post college, and I was making the money that I was making right now, like immediately after college, I'd totally be fine with that. It's not about what I'm going through, it's the fact that I'm 28 and going through it. And so I was like, that's let me get more granular about it. My subconscious was like, if I don't view this as embarrassing at 28, I will never strive for more. And I was like, okay, that seems pretty valid. In order to feel driven, I am choosing to feel embarrassed. So I don't feel content about this situation. And so sometimes, yeah, we choose to feel embarrassed about something. We choose to feel shame about something. We choose to, impose some kind of negative connotation and perspective on where we are in life because we feel like unless we feel bad about where we are, then we'll never strive for more. We'll be content. If we don't feel bad about something, then it means we embrace it and accept it. That's not true. I don't have to feel bad about my life situation to know that I want more. I love living with my parents. Do I want to be 35 living with my parents? No, I don't. Do I want to work to live close enough to be able to visit them a lot? Yes, I would love that. And even just like living in San Diego, I would love to stay living in San Diego. And so, later I came to the realization of like, okay, that's one way to push myself to want more, but there's another way. But that's valid. I totally understand why we were using shame and embarrassment about my age to kind of light a fire under my butt to get me to strive for more. So then I looked at the reoccurring theme and words in my last few, and I was like, it's embarrassment. Embarrassment is like the thing that is the common denominator. So I was like, I'm choosing to believe that there is something or anything embarrassing about any stage that anyone is in because, and my subconscious said, I am used to shame being my driving force. I've built my life trying to avoid shame. It's familiar, and shame keeps me logical, focused, and driven. This is very similar to the last one. But before I was kind of at the surface of being like, oh, it's around my age. But now my subconscious mind was like, no, 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 no. It's not just my age. That's just one manifestation. But the thing that I'm projecting into that age is shame. I've always struggled with shame. And writing this and having it come up was like, I wrote a little bit more than this, but it was like I am constantly creating situations in which I can put that shame in. And the reason why I use shame as like a guiding post, like the thing that I anchor myself into to move me forward, is because I have this idea that I'm just like so naive and like I live with my head in the clouds, and that's something else that I need to explore. But feeling shame and embarrassment about myself helps me from living too much with my head in the clouds. It helps to keep me grounded. It helps to keep me humble. It helps to keep me from thinking that I'm more than I actually am and like having a delusional perspective of myself. And a lot of us do that. There's a lot of, negative things that we as children use or that becomes our childhood wound that we use as the lens through which we view life in order to prevent ourselves from feeling this sensation. But really what we do is because we're so focused on it and that's the lens that we view life through, we end up creating more situations that allow us to feel that situation because it gives us an opportunity to protect ourselves from that situation. We are so aware of the fact that this is something that we need to protect ourselves from. And so all your subconscious mind hears is protect myself from this, protect myself from this. And so you look for situations in which you can protect yourself from this. It's like, this is the code, protect myself from shame. look for any situation in which I can execute that code. So your subconscious mind is literally just executing a function that it decided when you were really young that it needs to protect yourself from. And so now I'm basically just going deeper and deeper into all of the beliefs and hidden motivations of my subconscious mind because I need to be aware of them. I need to be aware of why I am doing something before I can change it, before I can say, this is what I am moving away from and this is what I want to create. Because sometimes we don't even know what we want. The way that we know what we want begins with knowing what we don't want. And say I were to just, hit one of these and I say, okay, like this is what I want to believe instead of this. If there's five other things that I have not been very clear about the fact that I want to believe differently about these things too. These other five things are going to continue to run their course. And yeah, maybe I'll have this slight new path, but I won't have had actually extracted all of the things that my subconscious is actually running its program off of. And so how do I know that I'm done writing? I just kind of feel it. I just kind of it's almost like my subconscious like goes quiet and I feel complete. It feels complete. And so sometimes it's a very long stream of thought and it's like 2 pages of my subconscious just like talking and like venting and letting it out and letting me know why it's doing this and like all the ways that it's serving me. And this time it just so happened to have been in like separate paragraphs. And I think my subconscious knew that I was trying to make an episode and was like, let's make this something that you can share and like look through easily. So when I went deeper, the statement that came to me was I am choosing to believe that my current life circumstances are proof of me playing small because then I can anchor my self esteem in it and I have something tangible to quantify my effort and worth in. In the first statement, again, I'm not sharing everything that I wrote like in between these like core I'm choosing to because in my first statement I said something about playing small. And so I explored that and that's what the whole idea of playing small came from. I was like, who's to say that I'm playing small? Why do I believe that I'm playing small? And it went back to this idea that I needed to be able to believe that my external reality was proof of where I was in life or how much effort I was putting into my life. I needed to be able to look to the future and be like, there is something more there. If I were doing X, Y, and Z, my life could get better. There's an aspect of you, of me, that refuses to simply measure the worth and value of your life by where you are here and now and what is happening here and now rather than whatever is living in that fictional fantasy reality that you're dreaming of. And so, this idea of believing that I am playing small because my external reality is not perfect, it's not picture perfect, was literally just me trying to give myself hope. I wanted to give myself hope that that fantasy reality does exist and that it feels better than this current life. You're not chasing the thing, you're chasing how you think the thing will make you feel. When I actually dissect that, I realize the thing that I'm chasing to feel is actually how I'm feeling right now. All of the things that you accomplish in life and experience, they give you that sense of dopamine, and then they become the norm, and then they pass on. All of the things that you now take for granted that at some point were things that you prayed for. Why do they lose their like sparkle? Why do they lose their allure and like why do they get depedestalized? Why do they get taken off of their pedestal once you're experiencing them? Because they're the norm. They're no longer out of reach, and you're here looking up to here. Now the playing field is even, and you're like, ah, I mean, it's cool. I'm glad I have it, but it's literally not that deep. And the issue that we have is that every single time we achieve that, Every single time we reach the top of the mountain that we've been trying and doing our best to scale up, and we experience that sense of like, okay, this was cool. We always think that somehow that next peak is actually going to be the one that gives you eternal joy, satisfaction, peace, a sense of security. It's not real. Let me save you a lot of time and a lot of disappointment and a lot of disillusionment. That is not real. The reason that we have goals is because that is what allows us to have steps and allows us to have purpose and allows us to have an aim to move through life. There's a lot of options out in the world. Don't quote me on this. But basically the idea is that there is so much more information out there in this current moment, but I am only capable of experiencing, noticing, and being aware of a infinitesimally small fraction of all of it because I would be overstimulated and overwhelmed if I was aware of everything that is going on right now. I'm super easily overstimulated. I can't imagine if I was hyper aware of literally everything all at once. I couldn't do it. I'm not one of God's strongest soldiers. I've never claimed to be. I'm just a girl. I know that I could not handle that. I couldn't. That's how we get tunnel vision. Like it helps us to zero in on something and let go of the distractions. And so the goals that we set, that we put everything into, that we believe is going to change our lives and change the way we feel about ourselves and just like be the thing that sets you free forever, the thing that makes you happy forever, those things, they're not actually meant for you to stake your self-worth, value, purpose in. They're just meant to be something for you to focus on so that you have some sort of direction in a world that gives you so many different possible and avenues for you to go down. That's it. That's it. It's just meant to give you something to focus on so that you can move through life as life moves through you, as life meets you, as life comes to you, as life presents itself to you. Again, we view these things as so much more because we have to view them as valuable for them to be worth pursuing. But when you detach those two things and you recognize, yeah, I view it as valuable because something about my soul feels attracted to that because it aligns with maybe my soul purpose, or maybe just something that I wanted to learn, or maybe an experience that my higher self wanted to have rather than I want this because it'll solve all my problems. When you become aware of the difference between the two and the falseness of one of those two things, it allows you to enjoy the process and the gaining of that process and sustaining the gratitude for the thing itself that you acquire once you acquire it. When you're coming from a place of like, the goal is the process and the destination is, just like the cherry on top. That is like, okay, another thing under my belt. How fun was that journey? How exciting was that? Like, I love that for me. What's next? Not, "Oh, fuck, what's next?" Like, a lot of people feel so like discouraged, or not even discouraged, but there's this period of darkness and feeling lost that comes after you accomplish something big because you're like, now what? My whole life was dedicated around reaching this goal. And now that I've accomplished it, I have nothing to live for. I haven't set my eyes on something else, on a new goal. And so I'm lost. I feel like I'm not doing anything. I'm not moving forwards. Again, I'll save you a lot of pain and suffering just by letting you know right now that that's part of the process. It gives you time to look around and find the next thing. And we kind of freak out because we're like, it means I'm never going to do anything ever again. No, it just means that you're kind of like looking around and waiting for things to line up and waiting for the flow of life to reach you until you get to the point where you find something new, and you find those things in the most random places possible. Like, I don't know, like When I discovered yoga, it was just like, I want to try to do a 30-day challenge every single month in order to build, the mindset that I am someone that can be consistent. And then it ended up being something that I was like so passionate about that opened up a totally different way of thinking for me. But it wasn't something that I was looking for. I actually was feeling more lost than ever at that point. But it came to me in a way that was just like so effortless. And I'm like, okay, now I really want to pursue this. So save yourself a lot of like fear and stress and anxiety about like, nothing will ever move on if you feel stuck in a situation. It's like the first part of finding yourself is feeling lost. Like what are you finding if it was never lost? What are you finding if it was something that wasn't already there? That's just the beginning state. You know the process has started if you're feeling lost. You know the process has started if you feel like there's nothing going on. So I went deeper. I'm choosing to use the external as a metric of success and a good life and a life worthy of being proud of because I want to feel included and I want to feel like part of the group. In order to feel accepted, I want to be able to say we are in the same place and I want my journey to look like theirs. I want to have my journey look like theirs. And so another aspect of me, using the external reality as a way to connect with others and feel like I was part of the group and feel like I wasn't behind. The reason behind that was because I wanted to feel like I was included. I wanted to feel like we were running the same race and I could look to the side and I could recognize like, oh my gosh, like we're running the same race. Like how fun is that? Like we're both 28, we're both doing the same thing. Like I am where I'm supposed to be and therefore I am where everybody else is and therefore I am safe and part of the group and I'm not ostracized because I'm the kid that got left behind because I'm behind in my rat race whereas everybody else is on level 10 and I'm still on level 7. A big part of this is because up until up until you graduate from college or you graduate not even after you graduate from college, after you graduate from high school, there is this the big divide. I think Sean Lesser calls it that. It's the big divide where for the last 18 years of your life, everybody that was your age was in the exact same place as you. You were all in first grade when you were 5 or 6. You were all in eighth grade when you were 13, 14. You were all in the same place, doing the same thing, going in the same direction. You would play together after school, like you would go to similar extracurricular activities, like you guys were all running the same race at the same pace. As soon as you graduate high school, people go into separate lanes. You may never see them again. Some people might, rise to the level of stardom. Some people go to college. Some people join the military. And all of a sudden, there's this great divide where now you can no longer look around you and be like, I'm going at the correct pace because I'm with everybody else that is my age. But that's all we've ever had as a metric of like not necessarily success, but this sense of security of like, I have a group, I'm with the cohort, I am where I'm supposed to be right now. You lose that, but you've had that for 18 years. So, of course, you're going to be looking for that. Of course, you're going to compare your life to everybody else and feel less than others when you look at their race and you're like, that race looks really different from mine. And you begin to think that that is the race that you were supposed to run. That is the way you were supposed to leave your hometown. You were supposed to. There was something that you were supposed to do rather than being here and doing what calls to you or not doing what calls to you, figuring out what it is that is calling to you. That was literally just my subconscious again trying to make me feel safe. It wanted me to have a place to connect. And the only way that I could connect is not by where am I like in the spiritual and psychological and emotional playing field? Like, am I, at the same level of intellectuality as everybody else? It's no, am I making the same amount of money? Am I working a job that, you know, society deems as like something that is incredible? Am I in my own apartment? Am I buying my own home? Do I have my own car? That's the only thing that I can look out to the world and be like, we're all participating in life. Everybody has their thing to show for. Let me compare what I have to show for to what they have to show for. And in order to feel like I'm safe and part of the group and that other people are viewing me as equal to them or in the same space as them, we have to have the same things. We need to be going down the same road. Or maybe not the same things, but like kind of equal. Like, okay, maybe I don't have like this incredible career, but I'm getting my master's, I'm working on my PhD, I have some sort of, internship going on, I'm doing something that I can be like, well, this is leading somewhere. Like, yeah, like we're both in like level 20 and like that means we're like both like doing it right. We're both 28 and in level 20. It's not real. That metric of success is not real because when you die and 100 years after that, it all means nothing. Even if you make some sort of life changing discovery, after a while, like you don't even, it becomes so normal and mundane, people don't even appreciate it. It's just kind of like, I don't know, the fact that we have cars and it's just like the most normal thing in the world. And we're like, yeah, like the people that create cars, I know Henry Ford is one of them. I don't know who created cars. Exactly. The first person to create a car was like, I will go down in history forever. I am not saying that nobody knows who that is. Like maybe I'm just like extremely uneducated, but to somebody that man is nobody. Like his invention lived on while he did not. It doesn't matter. It's not about what you have to show for it because the only real tangible ever present thing that was as real as it could possibly be was your experience through it all. How you felt, how many people you befriended, how many good conversations you had, how many days like in the sun you experienced. Like your your life review is basically like how did you feel about it and how did you make others feel? Can you use your own internal thermostat as the metric of success? Can that be what you use to quantify the life well lived? There's a life lived. You can just live. That's also an option. But if you want a life well lived, figure out a way to make your experience of wherever you are, whatever level, and I'm not even saying levels as like level one is worse than level 20. It's just a channel on the radio station. Are you enjoying what you're listening to? If you are not, change the channel. Do something different. Get clear about what it is that you would rather be listening to. That is a life well lived. Figuring out what you like, what you don't like, and doing more of the things that bring you joy. Because when you do that, you radiate that energy to others. You give others an opportunity to meet you there. You show people what is possible. And the craziest thing is that showing people what is possible is not just about what you show them is possible in terms of what you can create. You can show people what is possible in terms of what you can appreciate when you are not living a life that people would deem like conventionally something that you are like so proud of. When you look at the happiest countries in the world, it's the ones that are the most impoverished. They show you what you are capable of, not because they have like all this money to show for it, but because of the way they're choosing to experience their life with so much joy, gratitude, pleasure, connection. It's not simply about the external. Because again, what you show in the external has zero correlation with what is going on in your mental arena. None. You might enjoy, this trip temporarily. I think people are, what was the thing where it's like, I'd rather be sad and rich than sad and poor. Valid. I too would also rather be sad and rich, but I would actually rather just be happy. I'd actually rather just be happy because if I'm sad and rich, I can be in the Bahamas crying over my tequila sunrise Cadillac. What is it? Cadillac margarita. Is that really what I want? No. I believe that wealth and traveling and money is going to make me happy. So, do I want wealth and money and traveling if it makes me sad or if I only experience it with sadness? It's like, no, this isn't what I thought I was signing up for. I thought I was signing up for eternal joy and happiness. The external doesn't give you that. You give you that. You decide on that. You choose to focus on the things that give you more of that. Moving on. I moved into affirming my subconscious mind. These five, six things that I talked about, pretty fucking valid, aren't they? Mind you, the majority of these, except for the very first one, which is kind of like the very first level, like the surface problem, the surface, like the most obvious thing that's going on. I was like, oh, I didn't realize all that was going on. Like, that's pretty fucking specific. But it just shows you, like, your subconscious is fully aware, more aware than you could ever be. It would be too overstimulating. Your subconscious is running automatic programs 24/7. 24/7. And you have access to it. It's yours. Your subconscious is not locked to you, and your subconscious tries to speak to you. And the majority of the time, we try to fix it in the external without realizing, oh, this is a symptom. It's symptomatic of a belief that I have. Let me get to the root of it. Let me make sure that I don't just change my external reality. Let me make sure that I'm actually doing the work so that I can change my internal experience of any external reality. So that I can change the way I approach life. So that I can view life as something that is happening for me rather than to me. So I affirmed it. I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What if the quantifying measurement of being the same is that we are all alive and figuring things out as we go? I'm just kind of like asking my subconscious, like, this is like a different perspective. Like, what if instead of measuring my life against what people are doing or that is the same as mine, what if the sameness that I look for is the fact that we're alive? We're all the same on that level. We are all the same on that level. We're all alive and experiencing and moving through life and having life move through us. What if everyone has their areas of life that they wish to improve? What if my moment right now is that I wish to improve my job situation, how much I'm earning, where I'm living, mainly just like how much I'm earning. But what if everybody else has that too? Maybe not monetarily. Maybe some people are like, actually, I really wish I could like rebuild my relationship with my parents. What if everyone has that thing? They do. They all do. And so you're not alone. You might be quote unquote alone in the sense of you are the only one that wishes to change your external reality. You're not. But even if that is what you're choosing to believe, what if you can also acknowledge that like other people have things that they want to change about themselves too? Some people want to, change their health habits. Some people want to focus on, building muscle. Some people, want to pay off there's play everybody has that place in life that they wish to improve. Discipline, um consistency, um I don't know, their garden. Everyone has that thing. So maybe instead of being so hyper specific, how much can you generalize the human experience? Like, how general can you get about your comparisons? Generalize it until the point that the playing field is equal. Everyone is alive and figuring it out as they go. Nobody actually knows what they're doing, and everyone has a part of their life that they wish to improve. I said, what if I get to choose where I am is exciting because I choose to see how I get from here to there? What if I embrace that I'm not the first nor the last to experience a setback or starting at the beginning line? You are not the only person that started from nothing, that went from the bottom up. The only way up is from beneath up, from below up, from the bottom. Even if you're already up, the only way higher is from beneath that. Your ceiling becomes your floor when you aim higher. If you are making $50,000 a month, to some people, that's a whole fucking lot of money. But if you're aiming for $1 million a month, $50,000 a month is your floor. It's your bottom. And so, what if the thing that I choose to be excited about, instead of looking at where I'm starting, is like, oh gosh, like, let's see how this unfolds. Let's see how I go from making 50,000 to $1 million per month. That's a pretty big leap. Something drastic is going to change about you and the way you are moving through life for you to go from 50,000 a month to $1 million. What is that going to be like? It's going to happen day by day. It's not going to happen overnight. Even if it does happen overnight, you are now going to have to go back and dissect what it is that happened overnight for you to be able to repeat it. And not just have $1 million a month, but have that be your new norm. What if it's not about the destination, but being excited to see how every single day unfolds, and you only get it a day at a time? How exciting is that? When you look back, you're like, it's all a blur. I think they say the years go by fast and the days go by slow. You get it a day at a time. How fun is it that you know that at some point, somehow, some way, you have no idea, you will get from 50,000 to $1 million, whatever your 50,000 is, whatever your million is. What if we could focus on that instead? And then what if I can embrace that I'm not the first nor the last to start at the beginning point? That's everybody's condition. Like, as soon as you're born, you start from the beginning. You don't know, you don't have motor skills, you don't have language skills. You're like, everybody has started from the bottom until it's done. You started there, you keep going until you're not, until your life experience is done. And how beautiful is it to be able to experience it day by day and seeing life unfold and seeing how you meet life with presence in order to co-create your experience with the universe. As I said, what if I lead with love and appreciation for the opportunities that my current reality affords me? When I look at my job, I'm like, this is a job that people have as soon as they get out of college. Not a job that you have on purpose at 28. I work at an after-school care program for the Y. I have 20 first graders that I absolutely love, and it's a shit show every day, except for the days that I go in with like extreme gratitude for the kids that really make my life easier. There's nothing better than those days. But what if, instead of when I talk about my job, instead of shitting on it and being like, oh yeah, I just do this because I know that I'm not earning a lot. I love my job. I'm actually proud of my job. I'm just not proud of how little I get paid. But what if I lead with the fact that I have the best schedule ever that affords me the reality that the time that I need to create what I want to create? I go into work at 1:50 p.m., 4 days a week. And then on Wednesdays, they have like a shorter day, and so I go in earlier. I get to start my day at 1:50 p.m. and I get the mornings to create. How incredible is that? And I'm paying all of my bills and I have a little bit of spending money outside of it. How incredible is it that all of my bills are covered and then some, while giving me the time and flexibility to kind of do what I want to do? What if I lead with that? What if I not just lead with that when I'm talking to others, but when I'm thinking about it for myself? What if I choose to look at how my circumstances are serving a higher purpose? And that's part of like what I'm currently experiencing. My current life experiencing is serving a higher purpose because I'm living with my parents. I'm getting to spend years with them that I will never get back, getting to know them and love them and build a beautiful relationship with them while I'm living here. I'm feeling safe. Because I feel safe, I'm able to process the things that are preventing me from creating the life that I want to live. I have a job that again affords me the time to create while still having the stability of knowing that my bills are paid. I love what I do. I love my kids. I love the mental challenge of staying positive when I'm stressed. I'm real stressed because I have 21st graders, 26-year-olds under my legal care and guardianship. What if I choose to look at how my circumstances are serving a higher purpose? What if you choose to look at how your current circumstances are serving a higher purpose? What if you choose to view where you are now as the story that you get to share with others to show them what is possible and show them how much you can overcome and show them how much you can make out of what you have? Start building where you are, like showing them like you can start wherever you want. Like, this is where I started. This is part of my story. What if you could view things from that perspective? Lastly, I went through the things that I would like to focus on and change my thinking into. So I already went through what my subconscious's perspective is on it. Then I moved on to, what if I chose to view things in this light? And then I moved to, this is what I want to think of. This is how I want to view it. This is the new channel, path, avenue, neural pathway that I want to begin going down. 1, I would like to lead with love and appreciation and excitement for all the ways my current reality serves me that I am aware of. And look for more. You can always look for more. I would like to ground myself in joy and have finding the joy and the positive aspects of my life be what is logical rather than shame being what keeps me logical, because finding joy and the positive aspects of my life is what will define how I experience my life. There's nothing more logical than creating and being consistent about living in the mindset and thinking the thoughts that actually get you closer to your goal. Living from a place of shame and using shame as a thing that is what I ground my logic in is achieving the exact opposite of what I would like. I feel like shit about myself. Even if I get to where I want to go, it'll never be enough because I need to create a circumstance that I can protect yourself from shame onto, so that this mechanism that is in my mind, this what is it called, this code, can play out its function in my life. What if I choose to change that to being one of joy, finding joy and the positive aspects in your life? Because when I do that, when I make that the new hard wiring, that is what my mind will be attuned to, and will be like, I have to find more things that bring me joy and bring more positive aspects into my life. That's the new coding. I would like to connect over how well things are going to put out positive energy into the world rather than one of dissatisfaction, and allow people the opportunity to meet me on the high-flying disc that Abraham Hicks talks about, which is basically just like when you're viewing your life through the lens of gratitude and the belief in yourself that more is out there and that you are capable of more, rather than lowering us both. Sometimes we use talking shit about each other or connecting over shitty situations as a form of, social currency. It's so easy to hate things. It's so easy to connect over things that you hate. And sometimes it's like you can laugh about it, but even if you're laughing about the thing that you hate, you're still lowering both of your vibrations because you're connecting on something that you are deeming to be negative, and therefore injecting a negative meaning onto. Yeah, you're building up the relationship, but at the cost of what? At the cost of lowering your perspective to a perspective of one of dissatisfaction and unhappiness, and ultimately ingratitude. Anyways, I'd like to lead with love and lead with the things that I do love. Yeah, maybe I just don't focus on how much I earn. Maybe I focus on like how much I'm learning from my 21st graders and how incredibly fun it is to like watch them be 6 years old. That is, I mean, if you've seen Abbott Elementary, I've never seen it, but I'm living it. It's hilarious. 6-year-olds are hilarious and so emotionally transparent, and they haven't learned to regulate their nervous systems, and they do wildly inappropriate things all the time. It's honestly funny. It's honestly funny, and it shows me a lot about myself. It shows me the ways that I am judgmental of 6-year-olds. I'm like judging them, and I'm like, oh wait, they're 6. They actually have a lot of time to figure that out, and it's actually really normal that this is where they're at right now. It gives me, an opportunity to practice fairness. I have my favorites, and I have the ones that I'm not as thrilled to work with, but I have to treat them with the same level of fairness to show interest in what they're talking to me about, even if I find them annoying all the time. I have to do that in disciplining my favorite, because he needs that same level of structure that everybody else does. And I don't want any of them to believe that how somebody else feels about them is an excuse for any kind of behavior. Anyways, I would like to feel confident because I know where I am going, and I'm happy to exist and see how my external reality transforms while embracing every moment. Knowing that I will someday appreciate it, not for how I felt about it in the moment, but because it was part of my journey and led me to where I am now. Learning to appreciate the journey as what you are actually meant to be focusing on as the prize. The fact that you get to live every single day and figure out and create for yourself and write the story that you will one day look back upon. You're literally writing your story one day at a time. And yeah, when you kind of reach the end of your chapter or the end of your life, the end of your story, you're going to be able to kind of summarize the main things that you did, like the different main things, the different points that you hit, to summarize how you got to where you were, and everything will be a blur. Like doing these things with myself, where I'm exploring my subconscious and rewiring my limiting beliefs. That's something that I can tell you that I do. And when I look back at my success and tell others like, hey, this is what I did, I recommend it. It's not just a thing that I'm talking about. It's an experience that I lived every single day, or every single moment that I chose to, face reality. And I don't go looking for this. I looked for today because I felt like it was important for me to speak from a place of the other side, rather than just like, here are all the things that I think are wrong with my life, and you might feel that way about your life too. But to come from a place where it's like, maybe let's try this other perspective. And so I went looking for the answers to this. But again, this is something that I had meant to do because I was very hyper aware. I went to visit my sister recently. My sister, another incredible, wonderful, magical being. She's just done so much, and it's so easy for me to compare my life to hers, or my little brother that I view as like full of potential and already full of so much proof of like excellence. And it's so easy for me to compare myself and be like, wow, I'm really not shit. I am the disappointment of the family. Nobody else has said that. My sister is always constantly like, you're actually incredible. Like, I don't know why you can't see what I see in yourself Same with my little brother. I can see what he doesn't see in himself. I think he's literally fabulous, marvelous, like the best person ever. Still just a person, but the best in my eyes. And it's very hard for me to like accept that about myself. And obviously, like, this is something that I'm processing, but it was something that came up a lot when I was there. Like, she lives in, I think I can say this, she lives in San Francisco. And so there's a lot of very impressive professionals. You have to be really doing it to live in San Francisco. And so everyone that she's surrounded with is just like so impressive. Like, master's is your bare minimum. They're all like really doing it, you know? And so it's easy to look at that and be like, these people are not that much older than me. They're not that much older than me, and they've been doing this. You know, they had their eyes set on this, and they went to school and they did it, and now they're on the other side and reaping the benefits and the rewards of what they chose to do 5 years ago when I was not doing that, when I was not focused on that. And so instead of basing my confidence or lack thereof from comparing my life to others, maybe I view it off of the fact that I know where I want to go, and I'm taking action to do it. Even when I stop, because I'd be starting and stopping a lot. Even when I stop, like, it's not something that leaves my mind. It's something that I still want. It's something that I'm still working towards. Like, I genuinely view doing this work as something that is very important and vital and crucial to, you know, prepping the soil to create the life that I actually want to live. Like, every time that I have like a big breakthrough like this, I'm like, whoa, I'm so happy I haven't actually experienced my dream life, because if I were, this is something that I would have just kind of left on the wayside. Like, I wouldn't have thought that it was like something that I actually needed to work on, but I'm so happy that I did, because that is something that was like really haunting me. And with the external reality showing to me everything that I wanted to show it to me, I would never explore this. Why would I take away the magic and the shine from this wonderful thing? And once the luster of that thing wore off, I just find another thing. It would never occur to me to like delve deeper, you know? And so viewing the value in where you are now, even if that is finally being at a place where you can surrender and allow yourself to heal. Like, a lot of people hit rock bottom before going up, because when you hit rock bottom, you're like, can't go lower than this. Let me just do what I can at this point. I'm still alive. The worst thing I thought could happen happened, and I'm still alive. Let me keep showing up. And you build that sense of resilience and confidence and self-esteem, because you're like, I'm still going. I haven't surrendered to where I am in terms of what I believe is possible, but I'm no longer fighting and trying to hold on to all the things that were falling apart in my life. My life became significantly better when I stopped holding on to the things that were causing me so much misery, even if it meant breaking up with someone that I had hoped to marry. Even if it meant leaving a job that at one point I really wanted and having to find another mean of income that would never add up to what I was making per day. Like, what I make per week now, I could have very easily in the past made in one day, you know? And so recognizing like, fuck, like, I'm not going to all of a sudden be making way more money than I was making when I was a dancer, when I have this huge gap in my resume. I'm gonna have to kind of take what I can get. Even if I go back to being a nanny, that's an hourly job, you know? And so allowing yourself to be confident about the fact that you're still here and you're still moving the needle forward 1 centimeter at a time every single day, and that you know it's part of a larger story and it has its purpose. It has its purpose, even if it's just the purpose of giving you the opportunity to regroup and re-specify what it is that you actually want to aim for. I would like to view my life as more than a moment. I would like to define my life as a process rather than a destination. And I would, as a result, like to embrace how every moment contributes to the storyline rather than stopping and judging where I am on every single page. When I read a book and things are not going the way I want them to go, and I can see the way the main character is like, honestly just fucking up, and I'm like, stop, like, don't do this, like, I wish you knew better. I don't close the book and I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, no, I obviously have to finish I obviously have to see how the story ends and see how they get from here to there, or if they don't get from here to there and why they don't get there and what they could have done and what they did and how I got there. Like, that's why I have no problem with spoilers. Like, most people are like, I don't want to spoil. I'm like, spoil it. I want to know what happens at the end. Because even if I know what happens at the end, I have no idea how we got from here to there, and it's still worth reading because the how we got there is the exciting part. Like, I love Orson Scott Card, and like his book, I think it's Shadow of the Hedgehog. It talks about Pete. Okay, this is way too many things for me to talk about without zero context, and it's like book 9. My point is, there was one boy at the beginning that was literally a literal psychopath, awful human being, like psychopathic skin, a squirrel type kid. And then he becomes the hegemon of the whole like world of Earth. And all of Earth is united under his power, and he's like benevolent. And people are really like grateful to him for uniting them. And I was like, it kind of goes back and forth in time. Like, it tells you everything that happens, and then some of the other books go into each individual story. And when I was reading the story of him, I was like, oh, that's how he became that person. His whole life was him trying to apologize for his childhood, to prove that he's not a psychopath and that he can take this desire to be a leader and to be better than and to acquire things and to be super tenacious and use them for good. It was incredible to see that. And as much as it was really horrifying to see who he was as a child, I didn't stop reading and I didn't skip his book. I read it. I read the whole thing, and it was really, really, really beautiful and really humbling. And it taught me a lot about myself, about others, about our perspective on life, on what our goals and aims are sometimes rooted in, how the external might not match the internal, how we never really know people's motivations. Like, there was so much there that I could learn. And when the book ended, I was like, I was so sad that it was over. Obviously, he died at the end, like he dies of old age, but I was so sad that his story was over because the process of seeing him transform, I'm like crying over a book. I'm cried up over all of them. The process of like seeing him transform and like seeing his development. He was always brilliant, always incredible, always talented, but to see like the evolution of his soul and his like moral code, like it was just so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And like, what if I can view my life? What if you can view your life as the story that you're building, that you want to, the story that you're writing, that you want to keep seeing how it turns out, that you want to keep seeing how you show up and how you interact with reality to create and write every single day. What if you could be as excited and passionate to write each day of your life as we are to read somebody else's and to experience somebody else's? That's the new perspective that I want to hold. Wow, my battery's about to die again. This is going to be the longest episode I've ever recorded. I'm almost done. I feel like a pastor that's like, I'm about to wrap it up. I really, really genuinely am about to wrap it up. Okay, so I've gone through this process. Again, I've allowed my subconscious to explain to me what the subconscious motivations are to make me feel this way, to make me view myself this way. I've affirmed it and I've given it a different perspective. And then I became very clear about the new channels that I want to write, the new coding that I want to script. And here is what I learned. Because honestly, this helps me a lot. There's this concept that I got from this girl, Courtney Cho. Her name is Cherry Limeade Soda on TikTok. She talks about this concept of power without permission. You don't need permission to change the way you think and to change the way you feel about yourself. And so that's kind of the perspective that I was taking into kind of rewriting my coding. Like, I don't need someone to tell me that I can choose to think this way. This is what I want to think, so I'm going to practice thinking it. And I began doing that, and I did see like a shift and a transformation in, how my new mindset was. And I was like, why does this actually work? Like, that's so crazy. And I was considering pursuing my master's in something that has to do with this, and I'm not going to right now. I don't know. Let's not get into that. But when I spoke to I had an interview, once I did like my personal statement, I had an interview with one of my faculty members, and he kind of like asked me to delve deeper into my personal statement. And we talked about this. Like, I talked about how, one of the things that has been most transformative for me has been this process that I thought I made up. Like, this process is a result of me journaling about my thoughts, feelings, and beliefs for the last 2 years. Like, I didn't just come up with this process. This is a skill that I honed because I was like really trying to dismantle every single limiting belief ever, And once I came across the layout because of Bashar, I was able to like do it more quickly. But even without this layout, I was already doing this, When you take it as far as you can possibly take it, I feel like the universe is kind of like, all right, you've learned how to do this. Like, here's a shortcut, so that I think you can not just teach it to others, but so you can exhaust your capacity, like your personal capacity to accomplish something. Like, it gives you the opportunity to dive in as deep as you possibly can so you can learn to see how long you can hold your breath type thing, to show you what you are capable of doing on your own, to build that confidence, self-esteem, and that sense of like, I did that. I was super intentional about it. And yeah, it used to take me 2 hours to do this. And now I've gotten to a place where I think doing this entire thing maybe took me like less than 15 minutes. I think that's part of it. But when I talked to this professor about it, he was like, oh yeah, that's called, one second. Oh, I have to find this. It was so cool. He was like, oh yeah, that's called memory reconsolidation. And there's actually more to it. He was like, yeah, when you're able to access your subconscious mind and give it a new perspective, it basically allows that original perspective, like the perspective that your subconscious mind held, to dissolve, because now it's like, oh, I have another way of viewing it. I thought this was the only way of viewing it. And once you have reached the level of accessing your subconscious mind, you have a window of 5 hours to like exponentially deepen the new neural pathways, the grooves that we are trying to create in our mind to think differently. You now have a window of time to, every time you go back to it, it like multiplies the depth of that groove way more than if you just kind of like did it once, and then like every time that you experience this again, you're like, oh, this is my new mindset. This is what I want to go back to. He's like, yeah, it's called memory consolidation. And I was like, this is why I need to study this. Like, first of all, I thought this was something that I created. I very much did not. And second, it's way deeper than I realized. It's like an actual tool. And so I just did this. And so for the next 5 hours, as much as is possible, even if I don't think of it naturally on my own, the goal is to think of these new perspectives that I want to have in order to deepen the grooves, in order to create more stronger neural pathways. It wasn't just the neural pathways, it was create I don't know the full science, this is why I need to study this, but basically to really deepen this new mindset within you. And so I very much encourage you to take this process and make it your own. Like, use it for anything. I use this for any limiting belief that I notice is recurring. Don't go looking for it. You don't need to. It'll arise naturally as you experience life. I was already kind of feeling this way before I went to visit my sister, but when I went to visit my sister and I saw all the professionals around her, then it was like blaring, like there was no escaping that this is how I subconsciously feel about myself. It came about in every single conversation. Like it was like word vomit. I couldn't help but talk down on my situation. And I was like, alrighty, this is definitely something that I need to process. It came up on its own. I didn't have to go looking for it. And so you deal with them, and when you deal with them, you're able to dismantle them, and when you're able to dismantle them, you're able to replace them, and when you're able to replace them, you're able to move through life differently with a different perspective. And when you change the way you think, you change your life. When you change the way the beliefs that you have about your life, you change your reality. This is all about changing your reality, but it starts with changing your internal reality, what you are going to project and have be the lens that is having your experience pass through as a means of interpreting, as a means of interpretation. You will only experience life through your own eyes, clouded by your own baggage, by your own beliefs, clouded by whatever. Everyone has their own shade of colored glasses and that they look at life through, and the color of your glasses is you. Every experience that you've ever had. That is what colors your life experience. We're all experiencing, quote unquote, the same external reality. No one is experiencing it the same on the inside. That is all for today. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Just kidding. I do really feel like I just preached a really long sermon. But yeah, a lot was said. A lot was said, and there were a lot of tangents. But I feel like what was said needed to be said. And even if only a portion, specific portions of this episode resonated with you, I hope the seed was planted. I hope different seeds were planted, and I know that when you're ready, this type of knowledge, this type of perspective will find you again. And if you resonated with this and you listened to it all the way, like, I know that you're like really on that path to like creating the most beautiful inner reality possible for you. Like, you're on that pursuit of a life well lived, a life where you are present and where you are being intentional about clearing the muck from your lens so that you can see life for the truly beautiful blessing and gift that it is to be alive and awake and to be able to experience life as it comes day by day, to write your story, to script it out in the way that you would want it to be, to create the ending that you want to create. I'm wishing you the best on your life journey, and just know that no matter what, you are the life well lived. Just you being here, just you having your own human experience, just you being a lens through which the divine can view and experience itself. That's it. Stop looking for it outside. It's not outside of you. It's all inside of you. It's all inside of you. And you deserve to know that and live that and experience that for as many days possible as you can before you croak, before it's your time to go. Because I genuinely believe that at the end, this will be something that everybody realizes. Like, even if it's at like that very last moment, it's like this moment of like deep awareness of like, fuck, this was nothing more than like my experience, and it was all valid and worth it because it was mine. And all I could take from it was how I experienced, how I made myself feel, how I made others feel. And this is it. Even if you reincarnate, this is your last time being you. I've started thinking about that recently, and I'm like, this is my last time being me. I better make the best out of it. I better hype myself up instead of talking myself down. I better be excited about the journey instead of shitting on every single day that I will never get back. You get to be you in this one lifetime. Make the most of it. Understand that living a life well lived is just a change of perspective, a change in mindset. And when you do that, you change your actions, you change the way you move through the world. And then you see the externalized manifestation of a life well lived, stronger connections, the ability to find joy and appreciation outside of what society has deemed to be, of high value and high respect. It's yours. This one beautiful, single, wild, extraordinary life is yours. And to be here now and meet life with presence and with intention, that is a life well lived. See you in my next episode.